Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Pocket Perspectives Podcast. Oh,
Love
Lily
that.
joined in there.
Stunning.
Yeah. Welcome back. We're back with the hot takes, as always. It seems like we've done so many. This is our sixth episode on it, isn't it, Jack?
Yeah, 6. I like it because they're short, so we can like smash them out. We can record them, and just
Yeah.
really good to do, aren't they?
And
Fun.
we can just pretend that people actually care what our opinions are and things, and I love it.
Yeah,
Like, it gives me a bit of an ego, so I'm 100% down for
exactly.
it. So today, we are talking all about debt, which is a common theme in this podcast because, we work at IE Hub, we help people with debt, so it just makes sense. So we actually have an opinion that not all debt is bad, and we're going to kind of compare and contrast that today. But you can also use debt as a tool and not just be like actually terrified of it. So I'm excited to debrief on that one. And then we're also going to talk a little bit about vintage clothing, other items, secondhand shopping. Is it smart? Is it the best way to do it? Or is it just not worth it? We'll find out. So, yeah, we'll get right into the episode.
Gorgeous. So this debt is bad topic. I think a lot of people, when they hear the word debt, including me, I was guilty of this before I started working at IE Hub and understood debt and everything around it a little bit more. But
Mm-hmm.
it can often feel like a negative thing. Like when you hear that someone's in debt, you think, oh, they don't know what they're doing with their money. Like, oh, they shouldn't be in debt. But that's not the case at all. So there's a lot of times where we've already spoken about this, like in the first episode of our first ever podcast series, back
Mm-hmm.
when we didn't know what we were doing. But being in debt isn't always a bad thing, and you can actually use it to your advantage. Like you said, you can use it as a tool.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously, we always say this, but we're not here to give any advice or anything. So when I say what I'm about to say now, do not think I'm giving you any advice. But being in problem debt is something I personally like to avoid, because the consequences around being in problem debt are a little bit more scary to me, and I'd rather just avoid that. And that's
Mm-hmm.
not to say that if you are in problem debt, that's that you're a bad person or that you're irresponsible or anything like that. Like there's reasons why people are in problem debt, and I get that I'm coming from a point of privilege where I'm not in problem debt because I've not needed to be.
Yeah.
But there are other types of debt, such as credit card debt, that can actually be leveraged to or used to our benefit. So
Mm-hmm.
we've covered this before, but credit cards, as a massive example, can be used sensibly to help you build a credit score. So credit scores are so important in so many things. Like when we spoke about our like buying a house or renting in the previous episode, to
Mm-hmm.
do that, they will look at your credit score, and it basically just is a representation of how you are with paying back with repaying money in its simplest form. That's what the credit score shows.
Yeah.
Um, and using a credit card, all you need to do is put a small bill on there or anything, buy something that's
Mm-hmm.
below your credit card limit, and if you're paying that back, these credit bureaus will see that you're capable of paying back the money that you're borrowing, and they'll increase your credit score. And that's what these other mortgage providers and estate agents doing rental agreements look at.
Yeah.
So my personal take on this is, I've said it before, but I am a bit terrified of using a credit card, just because of my personality. But I've found a way where I can utilize it to my advantage by just putting like a bill on it. So I've got my car finance on my credit card, and then I pay it back the following month.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like I'm not paying any more for it, and I'm not losing any money by having to pay it back because it's a bill that I already had, if that makes
Yeah,
sense.
of
Like it's
course.
not like
Yeah.
I'm putting a pair of Alexandra McQueen trainers on there. Is that what it's called? It's that brand. I don't know what it's called.
Couldn't tell you.
Um, so doing that is showing these credit bureaus that I'm able to pay that back. And like I said earlier, I'm a bit scared of using it for other things. Like because of my personality, I wouldn't want to go on a shopping spree with my credit card, just because I know my own limits, and I know I would go so far with it and max it out and beyond. Like I would just cause more stress than I need to.
Yeah.
But basically, it's all about just educating yourself with it and using things like that to the best of your advantage within a certain limit, if that makes sense.
Yeah, of course. No, I completely agree. I think and it kind of touched on what you said, Jack. At our age, I'm so scared of falling into problem debt because of the consequences. So, in last week's episode, you would have heard us talk about like buying houses and things like that. And I mentioned about 8.1 million people in the UK currently need debt advice. And so, for argument's sake, I just assume that those people say they've got problem debt, and that's obviously on your credit file for 6 years. And so obviously some of them will have a house and own a home. But just for argument's sake, say if they didn't, that's 8.1 million people who can't buy a house for, well, they can, but like they'll find it very difficult to buy a house with a decent interest rate and from a decent lender for 6 years. And that's such a long time, especially at our age. And if you are someone who, like you've somehow managed to get a deposit, whether it's from a family member or whatever, but you've got this debt on your file and you're trying to like get it off, like it just puts roadblocks in the way for certain things. And so that's what scares me. Obviously problem debt at any age just isn't good, but it's really unfortunate when I see people like coming to iHub for help, who are around our age. And I'm like, do you know what, like that's put a span in the works of whatever your plans were at this age for 6 years. So yeah, that's why it also scares me. I think looking back again, we touched on this in season one, but my like issues with debt stemmed from when I had an overdraft in uni and I took advantage of it, and then I figured out what buy now pay later was and I took advantage of that. And I realized that I could get so much of this stuff without spending a penny, and it just made sense. And so I think I definitely took advantage of it when I was in uni, and just after I graduated, I'd say like it took me a very long time to be like, right, I'm actually earning my own money now. And I think that was the difference of being like, when I was in uni, it was kind of student loans, and although like you could get that money for a reason because you're studying, it felt like someone was giving me free money. And so like I just had this idea that I could get free money however I wanted, and then you face the consequences of having to pay it back and pay back so much interest. So I thankfully managed to get myself out of that situation, and I've learned a lot from it, and I'm very glad that I went through that, so I know that right now in the stage I am in my life, I don't have to worry about things like that. So just because you do have access or can get access to certain credit, doesn't mean you should, and you need to choose it wisely. It can definitely be like a really good thing, like you said, to build up your credit score. But you need to think why you're doing it, more so. And I think a lot of people don't do that, and that's why we're all falling into that in this country. So
yeah, it's like you said with the buy now pay later. I swear I've got something on buy now pay later every month. Like
yeah.
I've just always got. I think like you said, if you're sensible with it, like if I was wanting something and I wanted to buy it on buy now pay later, but I knew I wouldn't be able to afford the repayments, then I wouldn't. I would stop
Yeah.
myself from doing it. But I'm using it as a tool for me because I know I can afford those 3 monthly payments, but I can't afford it all in one go.
Yeah.
So
But
if I
yeah.
didn't think I was going to be able to afford those, I wouldn't. But you can utilize these things to your advantage as long as you're not being silly and putting yourself in more problems.
It's just so easy though, isn't it, to be like, oh, this, because I think, and I mean, people could be different to me, but in my head, I see this, say it's like £100, but then you can split it into three and it's like £33. And in my head, I'm like, right, well, I'm only paying £33 right now. So then essentially, girl math, that's only £33 because future me has to deal with the extra 66. You can go and deal with that. But I'm over here only paying £33 for something that's worth 100, and that's a really bad mindset to have. And I'm not perfect. Like I definitely still, I love a clear play, I love a Klarna. Like I'm still definitely on the buy now pay later train. But it's just that mentality of kind of understanding, right? This is still, I still have to pay this, and if not, a bit of interest if I miss any payments. So make sure you don't miss payments. So
yeah, definitely. I think Klarna lets you like push the payment back a little bit, doesn't it? Like once or twice.
does it?
It did for me anyway. I think I can't remember why I did it, but I pushed it back and it didn't do anything. Just let me pay it. But I think if you were like, oh, I'll push it back to August 2025, I think that would be a bit of a like moving out. But
yeah, or if you don't push it back, but then just they can't take the money, I think that's when you can have issues. But yeah, it is a scary realm, and there's no right or wrong way. And I think what I'd say to anyone who wants to kind of build up credit and wants to understand a little bit more, I'd seek like professional assistance. So like there's financial advisors. They don't not all of them cost an arm and a leg. There's definitely some that can be a little bit spenny. But you can definitely get really good advice. Sometimes for free, like Citizens Advice and things like that can give like realms of advice. So definitely seek an expert and a professional before doing anything, I'd say. And my personal take on this, I just wanted to mention, so I've mentioned it in the past, but I'm getting married in August, and we decided it relatively late. So we literally like, right, we're going to book the wedding in like the start of May, I think, and we're getting married in August. So we had literally like a few months to kind of figure out this thing. Right now, as we stand, where we're at like nearly the end of May, everything's like booked, all the deposits have been paid, yada yada yada, because before we booked anything, we were like, right, let's set a budget out. Let's see what we can afford to pay. And my main priority is that I'm not using any debt. I'm not taking out any credit cards, overdrafts, loans, or anything to pay for this wedding. Like, I just find absolutely crazy that so many people put themselves in debt for one day. I understand it's meant to be the best day of your life or whatever. But the thought of like people literally spend like 20 years paying off this debt for this one wedding day.
My God,
froze me. It's horrible, isn't it? So like I'm just like I just wasn't going to do that. So we are doing a wedding that we can afford, so I don't have to take out debt for it. So that's something as well that I'd say is obviously there's so many lovely things that if you have access to getting this on credit, you'd probably want. But think about future you and how long that's actually going to take you to repay, and is it worth it? And for us, it wasn't. So we're not taking out any debt. We're only paying things that we can actually afford to pay. So yeah.
Yeah, and so many people for weddings, it's not, they don't think about just their day either. They think about, oh, I've got so and so many guests, I need to pay for all their food. I'd be like, nah, you're paying for your own food. I'm not paying for your food.
Literally, that's what we're doing. So we're only paying for our wedding party in our family. And I've been like, I'd absolutely love for everyone to come and celebrate with us, and like you're all more than welcome. But unfortunately, it's not in the budget because it adds up. Because I think it's like I was like £30 a head for our food, and I'm like, there's an extra like 20 odd people coming, and I'm like, that would have been a lot of money to pay. You know, so that's kind of the vibe, and set your own boundaries with it, and don't feel ashamed for saying that. Don't feel like you're being tight because it's your day, and if people can't afford to or choose not to come because of that, then unfortunately that's just the situation you're in.
Uninvite.
Yeah.
If anyone's like, nah, that's horrible, uninvite.
Imagine. No, but I've said to people, you know what, if you genuinely can't afford it, I mean, I know it's not the easiest thing to do, but like people can message me and be like, listen, I'd love to come, but I just can't afford this. And then, do you know what, me and Carl 100% be happy to be like, do you know what, like, let's help you out. Because I'd prefer you to be there on the day. Like, that's definitely more important for us. But touch wood, everything's been fine right now. So yeah, just kind of just circling back, just make sure that you understand what you're doing and why you're doing it and where your priorities lie with that, and speak to someone professionally if you're worried.
Exactly. Perfect.
Yeah. Lovely. So our second hot take of the day is secondhand shopping. So this is one that I think is quite smart. I think it's actually quite trendy, a little bit hip. I think all the kids are doing it these days. It's all over TikTok of like vintage shopping, charity shop hopping and all that. There definitely used to be a stigma associated to it. I don't know about you, Jack, but like in school, like if someone was like, oh, we'll get this, and they'd be like, oh, from a charity shop, like there'd be kids being like, and I'd probably be one of them kids, I'm not gonna lie, like I'll hold my hands up, because I just didn't understand it at that age of being like, some people, one, just can't afford to pay full price for things, and two, some people just prefer to shop secondhand, and that's okay. But sometimes the kids don't reckon that, do you?
Yeah, it was a very much like, oh, really? You got that from a charity shop, did you?
Yeah, and I would never say it to them, but you would have like some thought, you know.
Yeah.
And, you know. So yeah, I think that in today's world, it's definitely changed. We do have so many things on TikTok. All I see, like I said, is just that people finding like really good bargains in like charity shops, vintage shops. I did some research because I love a stat, as you can probably tell. But 31% of Gen Z and millennial online shoppers say they bought secondhand clothing in the past year. So it's definitely becoming more common to do. And I think that stigma of younger people, because obviously, I mean, old people, you think charity shops, and in my opinion, you think older women going and getting like a lovely little skirt or a little bag or some shoes, a little cardi. But like it's like Gen Z and millennials, like they're the younger demographics and they're actually wanting to shop secondhand now. So I think it's definitely dropped the stigma a little bit. But also, like, just something to consider, they're not always cheaper. Like if you're shopping secondhand for like budget reasons, you might find bargains and things like Primark and things that like are fast fashion might actually be cheaper. So sometimes it might be ethically better, but is it cheaper? Or the jury's out. It potentially may not be.
And once you
So
start getting to those vintage shops that are like just not your charity shop, but like your vintage clothing shops, they can actually
yeah,
charge quite a fortune for some of these vintage clothes that people, because they know people want them, so
the one on
they start
Northumberland
charging.
Street has like such loud music and it's like boom, boom, boom.
Yeah, I can't go in there. It's like JD, isn't
Yeah.
it? When they've got a DJ in the front. Can't be dealing with
Literally.
that.
My son's below just not happening. To be fair,
Yeah.
me and Carl in Newcastle, I think they have them all over, but we used to go to like kilo sales, like vintage kilo sales, and so you'd pay for the bag. And it actually worked out quite cheap for some things. Like if you're getting like things like t-shirts that are quite lightweight, you're all right. But if you get something like a denim jacket or something that's so heavy, then you're paying like above the odds for it.
Yeah.
But you do find some bargains, but it's just about being savvy with it and keeping your eye out. And it's not just clothing, like things like love a good marketplace for furniture and stuff. Like I think if we drove, we'd probably use it more. But it's the issue of being like, can you bring it to us?
Yeah.
So that's the only issue. But there's so many things you can get secondhand these days that do make it worth it. For me personally, I have been in the past been a lover of the fast fashion, of the misguided, the Pretty Little Thing, the Boohoo. Like I've been that kind of girl, and I'm not saying that that's completely dropped because I'm not gonna lie, I do love a good scroll on Pretty Little Thing now and again, and I will go into Primark for my pajamas and my underwear, and that's just me being honest. But I'm definitely more conscious about how unethical it is, and I've seen all them documentaries about all those bloody factories abroad, and it's just horrible to see. And I really don't like the thought of lining the pockets of people in that industry, so I'm definitely a lot more conscious. So there is as well environmental benefits. So obviously you like it's just much more sustainable to support like charity shops, and then also you benefit in the charity by putting money in their pockets rather than these big companies. So I think I care about the stigma a lot less. Like if I buy something secondhand and someone judges me for it, I just don't care. I'm like, if you're someone to judge me for that, then I just don't want you in my life, because like that's just not something that you should be concerned about. And fun yeah, literally blocked. Like, I just can't bother with it. One thing that I thought would be good to mention, so we got Carl got my engagement ring and it was vintage, so it was I remember I saw it in Newcastle walking past a jeweller's one day and I was like, I love that ring, and he's gone back and got it. And then unfortunately one of the stones in the ring kept falling out. When we lived in Newcastle, we got it refit and put back in and it was fine. And then it fell out again here. And I think it's an issue with the ring because it's been pre-loved, it's had its day kind of thing. And I was like, the amount of money, because if we got it changed here, obviously we didn't buy it from here. We'd have to pay someone to refit the stone in. And so we're just going to spend more money, like overall, if we keep going for years and years to get this ring fixed than it's worth. So I actually got a new engagement ring. I don't know if you can see it.
Very nice.
But it's lovely. We spent a pretty penny on it, but it's new. And like obviously it's less sustainable and the whole argument and whatever, but like there's more warranty with it. I have more like belief that it'll last longer, hopefully. So yeah, that's just kind of my opinion, that can be beneficial, but it's not always the best way for you.
Yeah.
So.
I feel like even if I wanted to do this vintage clothes trend that's going on, I have a problem finding clothes that fit me, even in new clothes. Like
Yeah.
I'm this t-shirt that I'm wearing right now is aged 11 to 12, and I'm a 26-year-old man. So how am I gonna, like, all these vintage clothes are really big as well, like massive sizes. Because I feel like that's the fashion now, isn't it? Like all these
Oversized.
parachute trousers and like big massive jumpers that go down past your knees and stuff like that. And it's just, it's not really me. I feel like I can't jump on that trend just yet.
Well, you've teetered into it with your oversized tops, to be fair, which have been
Yeah.
looking good.
I feel like that's like behind the trend still, though. I feel like they were there before, but now it's like really, really baggy in it. Like people are literally walking around with their trousers like this wide. And it's fine if you want to do that. I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but I can't do it for myself. And also, in terms of like we've spoken about the stigma that's attached to buying secondhand clothes or secondhand things, and that it might be a bad thing. Well, my thing with it is that because I wear glasses, my eyesight's terrible. I also have bad hearing. My smell is so intense, like I can smell everything so well. And if I can smell that like secondhand musty smell that you get when you go into like a vintage shop, I can't get past it. And I know you can wash it, but I can't be changed. I just can't do it.
Yeah. Well, there's certain, like, I would never get secondhand shoes. Like, that's just not for me.
Yeah.
I couldn't. The thought of wearing someone else's shoes does make me feel a bit ill.
And also, it's when you go into a vintage shop, the shelves are so like the racks are just so chaotic. Like I just don't know where to look. Everything's just mixed up, isn't it? There's no like, like when you go
it's a bit
into
of a
River Island
chaos.
or whatever, there's everything that's the same is on a rack together, and you just know what to look at. That's just my OCD, I think. It's like TK
Probably.
Maxx in it. Everything is just like scattered all over the place. But you do
Yeah.
find some bargains in TK Maxx.
Love TK Maxx. I could live in there.
Yeah.
Literally live. A TK Maxx, B&M, and Home Bargains.
I
just love them shops.
I go straight to the kids section in TK Maxx, age 14, see what they've got. Normally got like dinosaurs on the front of it though, so I can't buy in that. But
I love my mummy.
But yeah, like you said, I've jumped from skinny jeans to slim fit now, so I am progressing. But like you said, it's not just clothes; it's like other things as well. And my brother just bought loads of secondhand furniture because he's moving out with his girlfriend, and it would have been like 600 quid for this pram that they bought. It's like I can't remember what the brand is, but it's like this really popular brand. Mamas and Papas, that's what it is.
Oh yeah.
A Mamas and Papas one, and it's got all these attachments that you can put in your car, and like the toddler pram, and then the newborn pram, like all of it. And he got it for 100 quid second hand, but it was pretty much like new, like it was used.
Yeah,
but
because you only use it for a few months, don't you? Really, because they grow so fast.
Yeah, exactly. And they just thought, why spend £600 when we can get one that's just as good for 100? Like. Literally. That's where it is sent. Like it's good to use things like that with. Yeah. But like you said, no shoes. I couldn't wear someone else's shoes.
Couldn't put myself in someone else's shoes. Don't have the empathy.
No. But yeah, that's my take. Maybe one day I'll be more inclined to ignore some of the things that I worry about now. But for now, I'll have to buy my kids clothes.
Well, you put things on Vinted, don't you, occasionally, or do you not?
Oh yeah, I've bought things like, but I see that as different to like a vintage shop or a charity shop for some reason. Like I don't see it in the same way, even though it is just secondhand things still. But I don't know. Although
I guess it's because you're looking for that one thing that you want, rather than going into a shop and being like you said, overwhelmed because it's just crazy. You're actually searching for that one thing.
I have bought a smelly like jacket from there before though. It smelled when I got it, and I was like, oh, I have to clean this with like 5 times now.
Did it work? Did you get it out?
Yeah, and I had to like air it I had to like hang it on a door for about 3 weeks just for the smell particles to just air off of it.
Stop it. Oh my god.
But yeah.
I need to get better on Vinted. I have so many clothes I need to put, and genuinely, Jack, like it's really embarrassing, but I've moved it from the past 3 places I've moved. I've just got bags of clothes that like sit in like our like loft or our garage or something, and they just come with me. and like they must just literally be stinking because they've just been in one bag for years.
It
And I
just
just
feels like so much effort, doesn't it, to take the
so
pictures and
much
write the
effort,
description, and for like £2 or
literally.
whatever it is you put it on for.
I know, because when you think of postage, I'm like, how are people making profit unless you're selling really expensive things? So I think my mum, she's thankfully the same size as me, so I said to her, right, come round, these clothes have been sitting here forever, so just take what you want and then I'll figure out what to do with the rest of it. But realistically, I should just take it to the charity. But I'm really bad because half of them got tags on still. So in my head, I'm like, oh, can make a pretty penny off that. Because I'm just really bad at just buying clothes and never wearing them. So we'll
Yeah,
see what I do.
love it.
Another good app, as always.
Another good one. And have we got some more hot takes next week?
No, this is our last one, I think, and
It
then we've
is,
got
isn't it?
some guest episodes. So yeah, I hope you're all excited for that. We've got 2 guests coming on in a row, and then we're back to me and Jack after that. So that'll be really exciting. And I hope
Yeah,
you've been
good.
liking the new format. Obviously, like I said, we've got guests coming on, so it'll be a little bit similar to how we used to do it. But I think I've been really loving these hot takes, so we'll definitely have more in the future once we've had some guests on. It's been good.
Keep
It's
them
been
up.
delish. Yeah.
Lovely. Well, thank you so much. And obviously, like we've said in a couple of the episodes, if there are any other hot takes that you can maybe think of that you just want us to discuss or you want to discuss with us, then let us know and we'll just stick them in every now and again. We'll stick a hot takes episode in and just have a little chat between us about things. So thank you
Yeah.
very much for listening and have a stunning weekend.
Yeah. Hope you enjoy the weather, guys. Hope it's hot where you are. And yeah,
Yeah,
have a good weekend. Bye.
gorgeous. Bye.